it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. And we're going to zoom in and focus in on an abundance, a plethora of viewer questions that we have got in. And that is to better understand the covert narcissist and the withdrawal of affection, the withdrawal of intention, the smugness, the whole role and purpose of this, and to get some perspective. And before we zoom in, I want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently made a donation to the channel. Particularly, we have a lovely viewer in the Germany area. So glad that we're able to reach out into Europe and the Netherlands and really provide you some resources, tools, and support to better understand some relationship issues that you're going through. And I know that the healthcare system is very lean on really understanding and supporting of this. And it's so very vital and so very important. That is the whole goal and purpose and presence of the channel here. And I also want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently inquired about making donations to the channel and have requested that we at Peace and Harmony set up a GoFundMe site. So based on your viewer inquiry and desire and wish, I have just set up a GoFundMe site, GoFundMe.com. And the donation, the area is Peace and Harmony Channel, yes. So I guess if you type that into the search bar, you'll be able to create a donation in anonymity. So if you'd be more comfortable donating there, please do subscribe and donate to the channel. It's keeping the channel alive. It's keeping the content flowing. And also it's going to help to support the design of the work, and as well as the book and workshops. I think we need to set up kind of a question and answer sort of workshop format for the channel. I've had a lot of requests for that, so we are in the process of developing that for you. So definitely hang tight and hang in there and consistently work on your tools and sharpening your perspective. And so I want to zoom in. Thank you once again. And I want to zoom in and focus here on a really great viewer question, is to really better understand and get perspective on the covert narcissist and their withdrawal of affection, their withdrawal of communication, their stonewalling, sort of their domineering silence that seems to undergird much of the relationship. And in the beginning, it might be, been full of snap, crackle, and pop. The relationship might have been, a little bit more flowing. You might have been attracted to their very strong, quiet, or their seemingly charm, the way that they seem to be very clear in their communication, or there was some allure to them where they were very stoic or didn't seem to be very harmless, I would say, is the presentation of the covert narcissist, where they seem apparently very harmless, very easygoing, very affable. But yet, lurking underneath the surface is someone who has very strong and sharp opinions, very strong and sharp planning, oftentimes, which is secretive underneath the surface, as if you were to think of striads underneath a ocean surface. There's, a different life going on as you get lower. That is very much what we see in the actions of the covert narcissist. These are the people who, after 20 or 30 years of marriage, and seeming loyalty, that they flirt, cheat, and then they surprise you with an affair. They surprise you with depleting the bank account. They surprise you with marrying the secretary in the office. Just these jaw-dropping, shocker sort of moves that you would never ever think them capable of. And that is oftentimes, we see very subtle red flags of this behavior early on. And oftentimes it is a lack of communication of their feelings, where they're plotting and constructing a blueprint for their life, basically, where they're going to do the 30-foot cliff drop, discard of you in a relationship after maybe you have given them so much of your most precious commodity, which is your time, your affection, your attention. You have loved what you thought was the inner them, the inner soul of them, and you were begging and wishing and hoping that they would then validate that inner soul of you and love the inner you, but you found that they were really, the relationship was very much on the surface. there was not this merging and growing together of an inner life in the relationship. You felt that they were really sort of living a sort of in a secret recess or retreating oftentimes in the relationship, and then you gave them space, but then the space then became a gulf, and then the gulf became a rift, and you were really sort of living with this subtle, very quiet abuse, which can take the form of ignoring, that can take the form of lack of attention, lack of affection, and it becomes very one-directional. And to understand this is to really understand that the covert narcissist is living by a construct and a precept, which is based on their really inherent insecurity and disappointment in their self, and it can be so pervasive, their sort of commitment of phobia to really connect with others in this really sort of transparent way. They have a deep-rooted sense of insecurity and, deeply, which they then, live and create a construct, or really a false front, if you will, like a facade to the relationship. And they will basically then have a relationship out of obligation, and it's not really sort of heart-centered where you're able to be open, honest, and really have that knowing in the relationship, that certainty. And the withdrawal of affection and information is to keep them basically in a stockpiling of security, a stockpiling of lack of communication, so that they have really energy in a very sort of self-absorbed manner. And this self-absorption can become pathological, meaning it creates a real gulf and a destruction and a hindrance to others who are in a relationship with them. And the secret of life creates a lot of tension, and oftentimes a very undisclosed attention. In other words, where you can't communicate about it. They are so reserved, they are so smug, they are so aloof, and they will give excuses why they can't open up. It's as if they have a handicap. Yet these people are very capable. They are very intelligent, but they will put forth as if they're handicapped. It's because they're trying to protect themselves in this self-inflated ego, which is kind of a quiet grandiosity, if you will. And this presents as it's very confusing, because the individual who is loving, trying to connect with them at this transparency level is not getting like in return. And it creates a sense of over obligation to try to get them to open up. You then become overly responsible for the evolution of the relationship, the growth of the relationship. You have a sort of ongoing chronic struggle to try to get the relationship to that level. And you then kind of carry on, because oftentimes there's no overt hurt. There's no one thing that they've said or done that you can really kind of put your finger on. So people tend to carry on in the relationship knowing in their solar plexus that something is missing, something is awry, and they are not receiving, yet they have a relationship to call their own with which they are in, but they're not receiving on a certain level. And then the crack begins to create in the mask when you find that they are engaging in certain activities, or so recessed that you cannot connect with them, and then it becomes very uncomfortable to have this sort of individual who is very uncommunicative, and you're then living on a hope and a prayer that eventually this person will open up from their smugness and kind of get back to that person who you originally loved, but the tinge of them is still there. So if you have encountered this and you feel like they're not really validating you for who you are and loving you for who you are and helping you to be that person who you are, then that you're kind of on you're ensnared in a very covert, manipulative, emotionally manipulative relationship. Because relationships that are functional are not in that sort of state or that ethos or that feeling that permeates the culture of the relationship, where you're trying to do a lot of guesswork. You're trying to always be directed at attention to them, and you feel like, basically you get into the monkey brain where you're, jumping around, look at me, and then it creates a lot of issues, and then where you then begin making mistakes or getting out of your comfort zone and doing the ridiculous, or, feeling like you're being driven to the edge and you're not happy. And then your happiness becomes the new normal. So this is, how the progression generally leads. And when you are there, people definitely, it's generally after years, if not decades, where it eventually becomes, the pain becomes great enough where you're saying, we can't tolerate this. Because the covert narcissist is going to continue on in their very covert ways. And, you are the one who is being proactive and driving for more. But the question is, will they be able to connect with you through an empathetic and ego, not a huge ego, egoless sort of manner, where the ego, it's not all about the ego. It's not about the pretend in the relationship. It's about the real in the relationship. So if you have encountered this, realize that you can oftentimes be in a stalemate position where things aren't really going anywhere, or you've plateaued, yet you are wanting more out of life. And you need to honor that little voice that's saying, yes, I want more. I need to have more. You need to follow up on that impulse that is driving you there, even no matter how much it hurts, no matter how wrong it seems, even if this might mean separation or divorce, or it might mean you taking classes or finally following up on some pursuits that you've wanted professionally or personally. Then you need to take action and not wait for the covert narcissist to give you the go-ahead, to give you the permission to be happiness, because oftentimes they're going to keep you stuck as to apply through this very covert manipulative tactic, which is to be very secretive, to be withholding of affection, attention, and positivity. It is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.